What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Your Least Favorite Team is Better Than Your Favorite Team. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and today we're going to be talking about the New York Knicks, really a touchy subject for any Brooklyn Nets fan. Now, I'm not hopping on today, I'm not shooting this video today to hate on the Knicks, to grossly underestimate how well they're going to perform next year. No, quite the opposite. In fact, I'm coming to you guys today to talk about how I'm sold on the New York Knicks and how I truly believe that they can make the leap and become an elite Eastern Conference team. Before we get into all of this, obviously, as a Nets fan, I am going to be a little biased against the New York Knicks. That's how I've been. I've always been a hater towards the New York Knicks, but I'm not someone who is coming to hate just for the sake of hating. Whenever I do hate, I try to make it as funny as possible. I don't like people just blatantly talking down on a team that they don't like where there isn't any punchline. Like people do it to the Nets all the time.
Oh, the Brooklyn Nets have no fans. Oh, there's 13 people to see the Nets. As they take on the Golden State Warriors, like,
Like if you're trying to make a joke, you should make a joke about how like McCall Bridges is going to shoot 30% from 3 this year because he's got too many teeth in his mouth and that's going to throw off his center of balance on his jump shot. So again, I understand that I may be a little biased towards the Knicks, but in all honesty, I do really feel that they have what it takes to become an elite Eastern Conference team this season. But it's been a while, especially before last year, since Knicks fans actually had something to look forward to. And I've always maintained the belief that if basketball is good in New York and basketball is good in Los Angeles, basketball will be fine throughout the rest of the NBA. And the Knicks finally have what the Nets had for the last couple of years leading up to this season and also last season. They have a very good, very solid young core with Jalen Brunson. Maybe not so young anymore, but on the younger side, you have Jalen Brunson, you have Julius Randle, you have Josh Hart, you have Mitchell Robinson, you have RJ Barrett. But I think that one thing, especially more casual fans, might not notice immediately, especially during the offseason, is that the Knicks have developed a very deep team. They are legitimately like 9 or 10 guys deep. And these 9 or 10 guys are not only going to see time in the regular season, but in the postseason as well. As we know, having a unit that you can go 8, 9, 10 people deep in the playoffs is a lot rarer than having 8, 9, 10 guys to deploy in the regular season because everything is different in the playoffs. You need your best players to play as many minutes as possible. And most often, your bench doesn't have enough to play prolonged minutes in the playoffs against a team like Milwaukee or against a team like Boston. But really quick, if we're just going to take a peek at this Knicks roster. You have R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel quickly, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims, who should be healthy by the start of training camp. Julius Randle, Josh Hart, Evan Fournier. Even though Knicks fans want to throw him from the top of the Empire State Building because of how trash he can be at times, you have Quentin Grimes as well. They recently just signed Dante DiVincenzo this offseason as well, which is going to give them a much needed boost on the defensive end. Defensively, the Knicks were among the worst teams in the league last season, and they still managed to be the fifth best team in the conference. But right here, I've highlighted what 9 guys who are going to be vying for actual minutes. Of course, you have a whole bunch of younger talent as well. Jacob Toppin, who's the brother of Obi Toppin, whom they traded away this offseason. Isaiah Roby, Daquan Jeffries. I also didn't mention Isaiah Hartenstein either, who could provide a nice lift on the boards for New York as he did last year. The point being is that the Knicks have playmakers. They have guys who Tom Thibodeau can throw out there and whom he can have confidence in that they are actually going to perform well. Which again, your coach having confidence in you and having again the confidence to go 8, 9, 10 guys deep is going to take them really far this year. I think that's really the only way I could describe it. Now, I think another reason why I'm shockingly optimistic towards the Knicks this season is that the East is a little bit more uncertain this season than it was last season. You have the decaying situation in Philadelphia with James Harden and the front office. We don't know what he's going to be doing this season. At the time of this recording, he is still on the team, but we don't know if he's going to show up. We don't know if he does show up, if he's going to be out of shape, looking more like Jim Harden than James Harden. We also have the Milwaukee Bucks. There's been a lot of hello again. It is obviously me from the future. I'm coming to you from the editing bay of this video to just drop in here that before I recorded this, the Milwaukee Bucks had not yet traded for Damian Lillard, which they just did like a few minutes ago. I'm going to make a whole separate video on that, but just know that when this trade is finalized, that drastically impacts Milwaukee and their title hopes, but it doesn't. It only like slightly changes. Well, maybe not only slightly, but it does affect Milwaukee obviously, and does also affect the Knicks. But I still feel that the Knicks have a good chance to still make a deep run. But again, I'll make more of that at a later date. Just know that this trade obviously makes Milwaukee significantly better. It does make them favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference, but also I still do feel that the Knicks are on the path to becoming an elite team in the Eastern Conference. Enjoy the rest of the video. Intrigue surrounding them this offseason with Giannis's comments. I do still believe that they're going to be probably the best or second best team in the conference just based off of talent alone, but who knows? There's a lot of uncertainty with that team as well. As it stands, the Boston Celtics, I think, are. My camera is like freaking the fuck out. As it stands right now, I think that Boston is going to be the best team in the conference this year. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They brought in Kristaps Porzingis. Obviously, they lose Marcus Smart as well, but I feel that their offense in particular is going to be very difficult to deal with, especially with how well Porzingis has been playing over the last year or two. So New York is not yet in that upper echelon of teams. Last season they were fifth in the conference. They were 4 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that they're better than Cleveland this year. I think they're going to be better than Miami this year. Of course, they were only 2 games better than Brooklyn last year, but that was a little weird considering how the Nets started the season off, and then obviously they kind of fell off a cliff towards the end after they traded KD. But we're not going to get it. We're not going to get into all that. I think that New York can be better than Cleveland this year, especially if they figure it out on the defensive end, because this offense, the Knicks offense, is fantastic. Last season, they ranked, what was it? They were seventh and they were third in offensive efficiency. Pardon me. They were third in offensive efficiency and 11th in points per game, despite being 25th in pace. This offense knows how to put points on the board, and I don't even want to give Tom Thibodeau credit for this because historically he's never been a very explosive coach in regards to offense. This is entirely the play of Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle. I did a video on Bleacher Report's top 100 NBA players last week in which Julius Randle was ranked 55th, and I think that Jalen Brunson was ranked 26th, somewhere around there. I spent like 7 minutes just talking about how flabbergasted I was that Julius Randle was ranked that low because I truly believe that Randle is a top 30 player in the NBA, and I definitely believe that Jalen Brunson is a top 30 player in the NBA as well. The numbers speak for themselves, guys. You get 49 points a night on average last year from Randall and Brunson. Their abilities to play make as well. Jalen Brunson is obviously a better playmaker than Julius Randle, but having a semi point forward really opens up all of the avenues for your offense, especially when you have a guy like Jalen Brunson who can play off the ball, who can spot up, who isn't afraid to move without the ball. You also have RJ Barrett, who's a great slasher. You have Josh Hart, who is a good cutter as well. Overall, this Knicks offense is just very good, very well rounded. The worst part about their offense was that they were just not a good team from the 3 point line. Not bad. They shot 35.4%, which is good for 19th, so a little bit below average. But you bring in a legitimately good outside shooter in Dante DiVincenzo, at least historically, and you bring that percentage up to 36, 37%, all of a sudden the floor opens up. Julius Randle has more space to work. Jalen Brunson has more space to work. RJ Barrett has more space to work. Dante DiVincenzo shot damn near 40% from three for the Golden State Warriors. For his career is at about 36%. Again, he's a very, very solid defender on the perimeter as well, of which he's going to have to guard the plethora of very talented guards in the Eastern Conference. I'm looking at Darius Garland, for one, might see time on Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday. Dante DiVincenzo is just a very good addition for this New York Knicks team, one that I think is going to really pay dividends for them and really help them get into the 50 win area. I don't know if this is going to be the final reason why I'm optimistic about the Knicks. I didn't script this video out. I'm kind of just freestyling off the top. I was thinking about this, like I was trying to outline it in my mind when I was at the gym, when I was on the treadmill, and of course yesterday because I'm the CEO of procrastination. But really, just the way the playoff seeding works, really just the way playoff seeding works in the NBA, the 1 through 8 format in the Eastern Conference. They matched up against Cleveland last year and smoked those boys 5 games. The Knicks, as the 5th seed, smoked Cleveland in 5 games. A series that should have gone 6 at the minimum was a gentleman's sweep. They then, of course, go up against Miami in a what was a defensive battle, if I remember, a defensive battle in which New York is not gonna win. Yeah, Miami averaged 104. The Knicks averaged 100 points per game. They were not gonna win a defensive battle. Also, I I'm just not optimistic about Miami being able to replicate this again. Maybe things will change if they get Damian Lillard, but as of now, that's not the case. As of now, Dame is still going to be in Portland, and Miami is still going to pretty much have the same roster from the year before. But I think the second time around, New York puts up a better fight against Miami, and then if they were to match up against Miami again, of course, who had that spectacular campaign, they're already in the conference finals. Like, are we certain that Philadelphia is going to be able to beat New York if they meet in the playoffs? I'm not so certain about that. Are we certain that Milwaukee is going to be able to beat New York in the playoffs, especially with how they have been prone to meltdown in the postseason at times? Granted, not every year, but being the number 1 seed, getting upset by the 8th seed in Miami Heat, a team that on paper doesn't even really compare to the Milwaukee Bucks. Are we sure that they're not going to be able to are we sure that they're not definitely going to beat the New York Knicks? I'm not even sold that like Boston is definitely going to beat the Knicks. The Eastern Conference is a lot less top heavy than it used to be. 2, 3 years ago, you really had Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn as like the top four and nobody else. And those teams were all drastically better than the rest of them. I'm not so certain that the Eastern Conference is going to be the same this year. I think that there is a lot more parity at the top of the Eastern Conference. As I said at the top of the video, I don't think that Philly is going to be that great this season. Boston, Milwaukee, obviously on paper are the 2 best teams in the conference, but I'm not going to overlook the Knicks, especially because they have maintained pretty much the same roster. They're getting another year of development with guys like Emmanuel Quickly, Jericho Sims, RJ Barrett as well. Even though he is a little bit older, there are still areas that he can improve on, which he's had a whole summer to do. So I think that it's very likely that the New York Knicks manage to make a conference finals this year. Do I think that they are capable of representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals? I definitely do not. Although, however, if Miami did it last year, I think that New York can do it as well. But I don't think that they're quite talented enough to be a title contender, mainly because they don't have that superstar. They don't have a Giannis. They don't have a Tatum. They don't have a Jokic. They don't have a Luka. They don't have a LeBron. They don't have a KD. They don't have any of those guys quite yet. But also, it's impossible for me to rule out them going to the finals because if Miami can do it with Jimmy Butler, who's to say that the Knicks can't do it with Jalen Brunson? Now, obviously, Jimmy Butler is a little bit better than Jalen Brunson, bigger, more athletic, can do a little bit more on offense with his size, although I do feel that Jalen Brunson and Jimmy Butler are about the same. On offense, the big difference comes with Jimmy Butler being able to defend the best player on the other team and having the size and having the athleticism to do that. But he's also able to do that. He has the luxury of doing that because Miami is such a fantastic team defense that Jimmy Butler can play hard on defense because he knows that Bam is behind him. He knew that he had help from Kyle Lowry. He knew he had help from fucking Caleb Martin, Cody. I think it's Caleb Martin. I can't remember. That's just sorry guys. I confuse twins all the time. From one of the Martin twins. Jimmy Butler had the luxury of being able to bother Jason Tatum, of being able to bother Drew Holiday. If the Knicks are able to become like a top 15, a top 12 defense, the rest of the Eastern Conference should look out. So yeah, I guess the TLDR about why I'm optimistic for New York. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, you have two top 30 guys, arguably two top 25 guys. That is a lot. That is a lot of talent on offense. You have an incredible amount of depth, and not just depth, like not just people that you can put out there, people that you can put out there that have defined roles and excel in those roles, namely Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Dante DiVincenzo, Evan Fournier, if he is ever able to refine his ability to shoot from the outside. And then lastly, Dante DiVincenzo. I think that, he's not going to be the greatest addition of this offseason for any team, but he fills a hole that the Knicks desperately needed. They needed another high volume three guy, not a high volume, pardon me. They needed another high efficiency guy from the perimeter who can also defend. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. I thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything that I'm associated with is down in the description. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content just like this. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. It really helps out with the algorithm. And with that, I'll catch y'all on the next one.